Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome in to Tider Insider Television. Across the studio from Tider Insider's Rodney Orr, I'm WVOA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris as we continue to work at a safe social distance. Let's get going. Alabama football kicks it off in just 25 days, and there's been plenty of work to do in preparation. But yesterday looked a bit different, though, when the Crimson Tide participated in an event that many feels bigger than football.
This is not a problem that will simply come and go in a news cycle. It is not a problem that will eventually dissipate without action. Being here today is a huge step, but I ask you, what's next? For certain, we can't let this momentum die. This has to be an ongoing movement until change happens. We must do more as a team and as individuals to keep this movement going.
Yesterday's March for Unity and Social Justice was organized to make an impact on the university's campus. The march took place from the Malmore Athletic Facility to historic Foster Auditorium, where some of the Tide's coaches, athletes, and staff made the changes clear that they want to see in the community. Ronnie, what did you take away from the players' perspective on this issue in regards to social justice?
Well, I just think the positive thing about it, Gary, is the fact that, you know, locally, the impact that they can make, they realize what they can do in terms of, you know, their platform, who they are in this community, in this state. But I think that really, Gary, the impact that they can make locally on a lot of people is certainly something that I think that was at the center of the message for some of the players, and I think that's where their focus is.
I agree with you. They see that they're role models and that they can have a positive impact. What I really liked about the march and really liked about everything that Alabama has done is in regards to social justice is it hasn't been splintered, Rodney. And what I mean by that is everything they've done it as a team, coaches and players on the same page. That isn't the case at every football program around the country.
No, I think that's a great point, Gary, certainly. I think that's one of the positive things of this. It was certainly organized. It was a team event, if you want to call it that. But I think the fact that they have kept this in the team, and it is something that is about the team, is something that's really positive. You don't have something unorganized with players running out, going in different directions. So I think that was another thing that really stood out to me as a very positive thing. And again, I think Nick Saban did a great job in that regard.
Absolutely. Well, now it's time for our Coach Talk segment. Head coach Nick Saban led the players in the march to Foster Auditorium yesterday and emphasized his support for the players and their feelings. He says he's been listening and learning throughout the past few months and wants the team to stand up for what they believe in.
This is what helped me grow in my role as a leader, to listen to the players, to learn from the players, and to give them the opportunity to do things that could impact social change today. So, you know, today I'm like a proud parent. I'm proud of our team. I'm proud of our messengers over here, and I'm very proud of the message. I'm very proud of All Lives Can't Matter Until Black Lives Matter video that we did early on that I think had a very positive impact. It was something we did together as a team. This is something that the team decided to do together as a team. So I'm very proud and supportive of what they are trying to say in a peaceful and intelligent way.
Rodney, here we go again. Nick Saban emphasized team, emphasized everybody doing this together, and obviously he is the leader of the program. He's probably the most recognized person in this state, and by him getting out front, the players could have done it by themselves. There's no doubt about that. He didn't have to be there, but I do think by him leading the way, the message carries even more weight than it would have carried if it were just the players by themselves.
Well, I think so, you know, Gary, and again, I think you're right. I think about him in terms of when you talk about getting out in front. I think that was something that it appears that he certainly considered very crucial to this opportunity that they had yesterday. And, you know, he certainly did a fantastic job. And again, Gary, I go back to the organization of it. It was peacefully done. It was well done. It was meaningful. And I just think that the way they handled it was, you know, if you're going to have a protest of this sort, you couldn't have asked for something to go much better.
And from a football perspective, again, I know that around the country, situations are being handled differently based on the program, but I have to think that this bond that these players have formed with Coach Saban and these coaches, it's going to help them on the football field too, in my opinion. Rodney, what do you think?
Well, I think another thing too, Gary, I agree with you there, but these relationships have been established. That's one of the things we've talked about Nick Saban as a manager of a program. They do these types of things in terms of all the programs that they offer. They have speakers come in. They have different things that they do to help, educate the kids on and off the field, obviously. So I think all of these things in terms of the personal development and all of these things, certainly over the last few years, I think they all contribute in an experience like this. And again, I just think that this is something that foundation was already there, even before this event.
Well stated. It certainly had historical significance, what happened yesterday on the University of Alabama campus. Well, still to come on Tider Insider Television. We're just getting cranked up. Alabama football gets another huge pickup in recruiting, one that is equally large in both size and significance. And we'll get your takeaways, Rodney Orr's that is, from the Tide's first scrimmage. Which players and positions stood out at practice at Bryant-Denny Stadium? That's coming up next. And a little bit later, your phone calls, emails, and tweets as always. The phone number is 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. There's the other information on how you can get in touch with us. So get us a phone call in or an email or a tweet. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV will return right after this. We're back on TITV. I'm Gary Harris. Across the studio from Tider Insider's Rodney Orr. Well, the Alabama football team held its first scrimmage of fall camp this past Saturday inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. That marked the 8th practice of fall camp, but the first time that Alabama had been in that stadium since last November. The scrimmage was closed to the media, but here are some notes from the scrimmage from players, coaches, and sources. It was the first time, as we said, Tide suited up in BDS since last November. Running back Najee Harris was one of the stars of the scrimmage, we're told. He was very impressive, as you would expect. Freshman running backs Roydell Williams and Jace McClellan also had their moments, as did Brian Robinson, senior from Hillcrest High School. Offensive line, that first unit, we were told, was really, really good. A lot of movement at center, but Chris Owens ran with the first team to start, although they worked some different guys on the offensive line, different combinations. Coach Saban talked about the significance afterwards of being inside Bryant-Denny Stadium again.
Every day that we're able to go out there with a good number of guys that are healthy and doing well and have positive energy and positive attitude and are working hard to try to get better, it's exciting for me. And to go back in the stadium was exciting because every step you take makes it feel like, yeah, we are going to play a game.
All right, let's bring Rodney in for some thoughts on the scrimmage. Some of these notes are available at TiderInsider.com. I've talked to some people. There were people at the scrimmage, parents and some blood siblings. Rodney, I was told that Will Reichard might have been the MVP. 2 field goals over 50. I was told that the ball, you could hear it just thump off his foot. With what Alabama's been through in the kicking game, from a place kicking standpoint, that was really good news, music to my ears.
Yeah, I think so. Gary, when you look at it, I know you just stole the words right out of my mouth. Music to a lot of Alabama fans' ears. The way Will Reichard apparently kicked the ball extremely well. You mentioned 2 field goals over 50 yards, hit the ball extremely well. The good news is he seems to be healthy, fully healthy, and he probably could have made an excellent contribution last year, but now certainly being recovered's outstanding news for Alabama.
All right, from the quarterback perspective, Mac Jones with the first-team offense against the second-team defense was solid. Coach Saban gave out his numbers afterwards, 21 of 36 with 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Anytime you have 3 TDs and no picks, that's a solid day, although we were told that he didn't throw the ball down the field maybe as much as he did last year when he came in for Tua, but had a solid day nonetheless.
Well, I think, Gary, when you look at him, we know really what Mac can do. We saw him against some good defenses at the end of the season. I mean, that performance against Auburn, and again, I know everyone talks about the 2 pick sixes, but when you look at his performance against Auburn, he certainly showed that he can stand in there and throw the ball in the SEC really, really well. Did a tremendous job in the bowl game against Michigan. So we kind of know what Mac can do.
Bryce Young was not available for the scrimmage, but Paul Tyson, working for the second-team offense against that first-team defense, had his hands full. There's no doubt about it. A young quarterback against a first-team defensive unit that shined on Saturday.
Yeah, Gary, I think sometimes fans don't really understand how difficult it can be when you're talking about a young quarterback with the second offense. Not a lot of experience playing together, going against a defense that's going to be really, really good, I think. It certainly put a lot of pressure on Paul Tyson, but it was an opportunity for him to grow. And certainly we know that he's improved a lot since last season. And, again, this was an opportunity for him to take a step, and we'll see how he performs in scrimmage, too, on September the 12th.
Of course, Alabama's got some walk-on quarterbacks with famous last names. Jaden George, Jeff George's son. Braxton Barker, Jay Barker's son. Braxton Barker, we're told, connected on some nice throws. Najee Harris, as we said, a big day running the ball with a couple of touchdowns. That first-team defense, though, true freshman Brian Branch got the start at star. And Ben Davis, we're asked about him a lot. Heard he really looked good at outside linebacker as a fifth-year senior, Rod.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the young freshmen, Drew Sanders, Will Anderson at those outside linebacker spots, and they're going to be really, really good. Get ready for those names because they're going to make a difference. But Ben Davis really had an excellent scrimmage. This is his opportunity. I think he's certainly going to make a contribution this year, as well as Chris Allen, guy that was highly recruited out of Baton Rouge a few years ago now, Gary. Of course, he had an injury, a really bad knee injury, missed a year, but looks like now he might be ready to fulfill that high school promise that he showed.
All right, let's move on. Former Alabama linebacker Freddie Roach is doing the job on the field as a defensive line coach and in recruiting. He helped get a commitment from this young man. Tim Keenan, a 6'2", 330-pound defensive tackle from Ramsey High School in Birmingham, committed to Alabama on Saturday. He's a four-star player. He chose the Crimson Tide over several teams, mainly Georgia was the biggest competition for him. He continues a tradition of interior defensive linemen from the Birmingham area for Alabama. DJ Dale, Quinnen Williams, Deron Payne. Rodney, incredibly quick feet for a man that size.
Well, I think when you look at Tim Keenan, you think about potential. Gary, you talked about his first move is extremely quick. But it's also, when you look at his power, he's so powerful when he engages with an offensive lineman, he can dominate him. So I think that when you look at him, you get him in the strength and conditioning program here at Alabama with David Ballou and Dr. Matt Ray. You say, what can they do with this guy? I think he's got a chance to be, once they develop him, an outstanding player.
Alabama now with 20 total commitments, battling Ohio State for the #1 class in the country. This news, reserve offensive lineman Rowdy Garza out of Hewitt-Trussville High School tweeted out that he's going into the transfer portal. He says he has a full scholarship offer from Gardner-Webb. Now, he's not your typical walk-on. He is a preferred walk-on, big kid, was running third team on the offensive line, but obviously wants an opportunity maybe to play more, so he's looking at his options in the transfer portal. As we said, he says he has a full offer, a scholarship offer from Gardner-Webb University. Well, coming up on TITV, former Crimson Tide All-American Mark Barron lands with a new NFL team. We'll tell you what could make Denver an easy fit for Barron. And coming up next, your phone calls, emails, and tweets. The phone number again, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. We'll be right back with the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the one, the only, award-winning Tider Insider TV. NFL news, Mark Barron, the former Crimson Tide All-American, has reached an agreement for a one-year deal with Denver, the Broncos. He will team up with Kareem Jackson and Jerry Jeudy out in the Mile High City. Barron spent last season with the Steelers, had good numbers, 82 tackles in 15 games. Welcome back into the program. Gary Harris, Rodney Orr, Tider Insider TV. We're going to jump out on the phone lines. And first up tonight is our pal John in Bessemer. Hey, John.
Gary, what's going on, man?
Hey, man.
Hey, man, Alabama's doing a good job recruiting, man.
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, the reason I'm calling, man, I heard Bullet Bob Armstrong died, man. So I'm trying to find out where they going to bury him at, man.
Okay, well, when you said the producer told me Bullet Bob, I didn't know if you were talking about Bullet Bob Hayes, the former great Cowboys wide receiver, or Bullet Bob Armstrong. Yeah, Bullet Bob Armstrong has passed away in the last couple of days, 3 or 4 days ago. I don't know many more details other than that. This is Tider Insider TV. We don't talk wrestling very often, but he was a legendary professional wrestling in the Atlanta area back in the Georgia Championship wrestling days. Rodney, you impressed? Had several sons that were in the wrestling business, and unfortunately, Bullet Bob Armstrong has passed away. You're right about that, John, but I don't really know many details. But thanks for the phone call, though we'd like to keep it on Crimson Tide sports subjects if possible. Let's get to an email. And this email is from Mike in Brookwood, do you guys expect Pete Golding to blitz more this season? Rodney, I think that they're going to do on defense whatever they need to try to do to affect the quarterback and slow offenses down. Do you think they might try to blitz more than they have? I don't know how much they blitzed in the past.
Yeah.
I thought it was quite a bit, actually.
No, I probably wouldn't think so. I do think this, though. I do think the pass rush has a potential to be better. And part of that is I think you have several defensive linemen that have another year experience. I think with LeBron Ray back, hopefully fully healthy, which he is, if he can stay healthy, I think you're going to get a better pass rush up front. You've got some really good outside pass rushers potentially. I think Chris Allen was an outstanding high school pass rusher. And then you got the two true freshmen that we mentioned, Drew Sanders, Will Anderson. I think those two guys are really going to make an impact as pass rushers, and I think Ben Davis certainly, too, has the potential to do that.
All right, let's go back to our Tider Insider phone line and welcome in Rick from Brent. Go ahead, Rick. How are you?
I'm fine. How are y'all tonight?
Doing well, man.
Well, good. I just want to update on the kickers because, that's still the most important thing.
Okay, Rick, it's an important aspect to big football games. There's no doubt. Again, last year down at Auburn, if Bolas makes that 30-yard field goal, game probably goes to overtime. Maybe Alabama wins it. We already told you Reichard was impressive, we're told, in the scrimmage. But Bolas is a guy, too, Rodney, that has done a lot of kicking here at Alabama. So I'd say between those two and others, we'll hope, keep our fingers crossed, that the kicking game is a strength this year.
Yeah, and I think sometimes Nick Saban has used 2 place kickers in a year. Obviously many times. So you certainly always need that in the event of an injury. But it was very promising, the information on Will Reichard. But also the punters, Gary. I think that, P. Ryan's back. Obviously, he did an outstanding job there when he had his opportunities last year. But Sam Johnson's also a name that's come up, the walk-on punter from Oak Mountain. So, we'll see. I think there's certainly Skylar DeLong still in the program as far as we know. He's on the roster. We haven't had an opportunity to see him out there. But, they're certainly going to have some competition.
All right. Thanks for the phone call, Rick. Still to come on TITV. The start to Xavier McKinney's NFL career has been stalled. We'll tell you about an untimely injury for the New York Giants free safety. And more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, you can call us right there at 205-348-9882, or you can email us at the address on your screen or tweet at us using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, Tider Insider Television. The New York Giants, already injury-plagued secondary, took another big hit when starting free safety Xavier McKinney suffered a fractured leg that required surgery. The Giants' second-round draft pick, number 36 overall out of Alabama, was slated to start alongside strong safety Jabril Peppers out of Michigan. McKinney underwent surgery and is possibly going to be back this season, maybe in 2 to 3 months. All right, let's jump right back out on the phone lines, and Jason is with us in Brilliant. Hey, Jason, how are you? Jason, you need to turn your television down, man. We're getting a bunch of feedback.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right. Go ahead, man.
I said, reckon how many fans Alabama lost with Saban doing the march the other day?
I don't know. Let me say this. We've seen a lot of this on social media. I think Nick Saban supports his players. I think Nick Saban cares about the fans. I do. But I think he wants to do what's right for his team. And if some fans turn off because of that, he's going to live with it. So I can't answer that question. I don't know how many they lost. But while I know he cares about the fan base, I think the players take priority. And I think that's the way he approached this entire situation, Rod. That's my take on it anyway. Speak for myself.
And I think that's a good summary, Gary. And I think, too, it's not just Alabama. There are other schools that are doing things as well. So, again, I just think that, as you said, Gary, he had the player's best interest at heart in this situation. And, that's what they decided to do.
All right, let's get another phone call in from Reg over in Beeham. Hey, Reg, how are you?
Well, good evening. Listen, let me ask you, will they space the fans that they allow in the stadium? Will they be sitting 6 feet apart? Also, are they going to allow the band to come in? And the last thing I wanted to ask you, Rodney, is will there be better tackling in the defensive box this year? Do you know?
Let's try to run those down for you. First, on the fans, there's only 20% capacity, so I'm sure the seating plan will include social distancing. As far as the band, I should know the answer to that, Reg. I know that information has been out there, Rod. Sometimes you just go blank. I'm not sure if the band will participate or not. Rodney, do you know?
They're not expected
Yeah,
to.
they're not expected to. That's what I thought. So no $1 million band. And as far as the tackling, is concerned, it needs to get better.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a great question, Reg, in terms of the tackling, because I didn't think Alabama's secondary, especially on the corners, tackled extremely well. You saw some short throws that maybe got a little bit more yardage than they should have. But, yeah, I hope that they are. I think when you look at Patrick Surtain and Josh Jobe, two guys that I think can be excellent corners, obviously, guys that now have some experience, yeah, I think they're very capable of being outstanding tacklers.
So, in summary, Reg, social distancing in the stadium, no band, and they need to tackle better. So we got you covered. All right, let's get to an email before we close out this segment. This is from Phil in Tuscaloosa. Where can I buy a Tighter Insider T-shirt like the one Rodney was wearing last week? Must have seen you on the internet or something, Rod.
I'm not really sure about that, Gary. Again, I'd have to know the picture. I don't remember wearing a TI T-shirt.
Do you have any for sale now?
No, I don't.
But you used to?
I used to years ago, yes.
Well, I tell you what, when he cranks out some new ones, keep an eye out there at TighterInsider.com.
If they want to design one, they can.
It's time for some new T-shirts, buddy, okay?
Yeah, they can design
one. Get on that. Get Dalton on that. All right, still to come, kickoff times are out. We appreciate your phone calls, by the way. We'll give you some game times for Alabama football this fall and TV assignments coming up next on a, wow, that's a pretty sky right there from our tower cam. We're right back after this. Welcome back. I think I might have botched Phil's email. I think he said shirt, and I threw in the word T-shirt for some reason. I don't know where I got that right. I think he was talking about one of your custom-made TITV dress shirts.
Yeah, those are custom-made, and hey, if he wants one, just contact me. We'll figure it out.
There you go, Phil. Well, 5 of Alabama's 10 games now have kickoff times. 3 of the 5 will be televised on CBS. The other 2 on ESPN. 4 of the 5 will be played in prime time, most notably at home versus Georgia and in Baton Rouge against LSU, a 5 o'clock kick. The Crimson Tide has already received more primetime games this year than in previous years. Alabama still favorites with TV. All right, that's going to do it for the program. If you missed any of tonight's show, you can catch a replay at 10:30 or online anytime at WVUA23.com. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great night. We'll catch you again next week on Tighter Insider Television.